Yes, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Let me try and line that up. There we go. How we doing? Welcome to Football Heritage TV. Stel, you are back after a week or two of being knocked out by a neurovirus. Hope you're well, my friend. Welcome back.
Yeah, definitely. I'm back now. Yeah, that was one dodgy stomach bug. I tell you, awful. But yeah, good to be back. Is it good to talk about Tottenham? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's a cup semi week. It's a cup semi final. So look, we've got to get excited about this. But got to mention that it is a cup semi final at Anfield. But guys and girls, get your questions in. This show only exists if you get your questions in. Let's see what you've got. I'll have a little chat with Stel for 5 minutes while we build them up. I will save them. So if I don't read it immediately, it doesn't mean I've not saved it. Good afternoon, evening, morning to all of you. Please smash the like button. Please do subscribe as well. Look, we've got 100 in here and growing, and smash the like. Stel, we beat Brentford. We haven't really talked about this. I know you've been not very well, but we beat Brentford as usual. As soon as we beat Brentford, I got the usual people that I hadn't seen for about 7 or 8 league games come into my chat. You're in the mud again, Savva. You know, every time we win a game, I'm in the mud. Good performance against Brentford, a slightly different performance. What did you make of Brentford?
I thought it was a pretty poor game of football, really. It was boring. But the win was the most important thing. So will I take boring if we get 3 points? Yep. Clean sheet, which is always good. Good to see that the wing backs weren't being pushed up. I thought that was a big factor in this game. It made us more defensively solid. In terms of midfield, I'm still neither here or there with it. I think Brentford should have scored at least a goal. They missed 1 or 2 really good chances. But that's their problem, not ours. If I was Brentford, I'd probably be disappointed not to come out of that game with something, because we were there for the taking. If as a Spurs fan, ecstatic, brilliant that we went away to Brentford. I predicted a loss, so to go there and get 3 points was good. I thought our second goal was excellent. I thought the build-up play for our second goal was really, really well put together, and a tidy finish from Sarr as well. So that was good to see. But overall, it was a surprise result, and a result that we take.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was one of those ones where it was very much backs to the walls. I mean, especially in that second half, you know, we struggled to get out. I mean, a couple of classic counter-attacks, obviously one of them being the goal. But I think what was pleasing for me is that I saw a stat that we had 50 clearances in the game, which is a good thing that we dealt with it. But again, I've said very clearly, if we do that against everybody, better teams, if you give them 50 chances to cross into your box, the odds are still that 1 or 2 of those 50 crosses are going to end up in the back of your net. So pleasing, but also not worrying, but cautiously worrying as well. Would that be fair?
Yeah, there's pros and cons with it. The fact that we can defend and hold on to a lead is a positive. It's something we've said for so long. We can't defend. We don't know what to do. We look at 6s and 7s. On the other side, was it deliberately planned, or were we pinned back and didn't know what to do? So that's the not so good part. But I think we were in such a rut. We're in such a free fall, a decline like we've not seen in decades, that we just needed a win from somewhere. You know, just stop the rot.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want before going to Anfield is another loss. So at least we've got a little something, a bit of confidence going to Anfield tomorrow night. So I think, Savva, I think it's just one of those games where we just got to focus on the fact we won the 3 points and almost not ignore, but just brush everything else under the carpet, because it was such a mess at Spurs. And it still is a mess, let's be honest. But I couldn't remember the last time I think it was Southampton. It was the last league game we won before.
Yeah. That was. We hadn't won for 7 league games. We hadn't won since. Look how pale I am, right? We hadn't won since I was sunning myself in the Dominican Republic at the beginning of December. right? That was the last time Spurs won a Premier League game. I was in my hotel room in the Dominican. And I was complaining to the wife yesterday about, God, I need another holiday. So that tells you how long ago we won a game. I just find it funny that when we do win a game, it suddenly turns into the greatest win of all time. And look, he has learned and all this kind of stuff. But look, what I will say is we'll get some questions. What I will say here is I've said if anyone would like to ask the question face-to-face, i.e. if they would like to come on and ask the question, Stel and I, and have a 5-minute chat about their question, then please let me know in the chat and I will give you the link. But only if you can come on with your camera and you've got a simple question. Please don't just come on and expect Stel and I to talk to you. We want you to ask us a question to discuss. There's lots of questions already building up. Let's get to the first one, Stel. So the first question we had was from I Am Robert Tree, big up to I Am Robert Tree, has said, would you rather have Tottenham managed by Ange with Kane, Eriksen and Dembele, or managed by Poch with Soldado, Gedson Fernandes and Tungay and Ndombele? Love that. I'm going to pass that over to Stel. So, Stel, what are you going for?
I'd rather have Tottenham managed by Ange with Kane, Eriksen and Dembele, because Eriksen, Dembele and Kane can perform in any system under any manager. It doesn't matter who the manager is. They can just play the game. And Kane's proven that. Eriksen's proven that. Dembele proved it at Fulham, proved it for Belgium, proved it at Spurs. Yeah. It doesn't matter who the manager is when you've got quality players of that level.
Yeah, do you know what? I agree. As much as I dislike Ange as a manager, just those 3 quality players carries him through. Do you know what I mean? Eriksen setting up, Dembele doing all the work in midfield, Eriksen setting up Kane, scoring free kicks, taking set pieces, and Kane getting 30 goals a season. For me, would completely outweigh how bad Ange is as a manager. So I completely agree. Will I answer the questions under the community post? Yes, I will. I didn't see many there. If I'm completely honest, I really didn't see any. Let me just quickly go back and double check. And I think they've changed the community section on YouTube, which I'm not a fan of, by the way. But hey, that's something different. So I can't see any under the community post. Let me just have a look. I don't know if I'm being stupid. 1 second. 1 second. Here we go. The community post. I can't see any. Send it in here again, please, artists. Send it in here again and we'll get to it. And also let me know if anybody would like the link to ask the question face to face. Good evening to you, Karate. Good evening to you, Ryan G. By the way, just let me quickly plug tonight at 7:45. I will be on Big Up doing a watch along for Newcastle versus Arsenal because, well, should be a great game of football, and we might be seeing who our final rivals will be, or look what you could have won. So thank you very much for that question. Steve has said, and I'll go to you again, Stel, first on this. What's your honest thoughts on the Van der Ven saga? So I guess when he's talking about saga, we're talking about, is he fit? Is he not? Did he come back and get another knock? Are the club being honest with us about precaution? Because Stel, if I chuck a bit more onto this, surely the sheer blind panic in the last 2 days of the window in terms of asking for everybody's centre half tells me there's a little bit something more here. So what do you make of this whole Van der Ven situation?
When he came back against Chelsea, before the game, I remember saying, actually, I came on here and I said it, and I said it on my channel too. It's a massive, massive risk starting Romero and Van der Ven after a long layoff in a game where the opposition's got quick attackers and a game that's going to be very spicy. At least Dragusin has to start. Don't start both Romero and Van der Ven. This is a very, very risky strategy, and it played out to be risky because we lost both Van der Ven and Romero. I think what they've done this time is they've brought back Van der Ven. They gave him half a game just to test the water.
Yeah.
And this is what they should have done previously. Okay, so they've made a stupid mistake. How they made that mistake in the first place beggars belief. These are professionals, by the way. If I can see it, I don't understand how they don't understand it. Anyway, that's the past. And they brought him back. He played 45 minutes, and they've probably assessed him afterwards and said, right, how did that feel? And he's probably a bit stiff. I felt a little tweak, but so based on that, they're going to rest him until he's feeling closer to 100% and probably play him in a game that is less physically demanding. I'm surprised he didn't get another half against Efesborg because they're not a difficult team. I would have thought maybe just give him another 45 minutes in that game, but maybe the tweak was a little bit more than just a tweak. So he's probably felt something, and rather than setting him back another 3 months, this might set him back 2-3 weeks by resting him now, which is probably the right thing. So the way I would look at it is they're doing the right thing this time. That's what I think they're doing.
Did you see? I mean, look, let me add on to this, and I wanna make sure that I get this right. And Lubo wants to come on and ask us a question in a minute, so I will get to Lubo in 1 second.
He's Archie Gray, the best player at Spurs.
You know, it's going to have something to do with Archie Gray, right? You just know it. Every time Lubo sends me a message, it's something about a youth player or Archie Gray, and look how magnificent he is. Suddenly Lubo was praising Ange earlier because Ange was praising Archie Gray. I want to make sure I get this right. So it's one of the last things from last night. Here's some really worrying stats, right? For Van der Ven and Romero still. Mm-hmm. And it's Romero. So of the last 138 league games that are available to Romero since he joined Tottenham, he has played 94 of them. So that's a 67% rate. Okay. So essentially he misses 3 games in every 10 in the Premier League. When you look at all of the games he's been available for with FA Cup, League Cup, Europa League, Champions League, etc., he's played 61% of all available. So basically every 10 games Tottenham play, Romero has not been available. Now, you would say, okay, well, if one of our centre-halves is injury-prone, cool. Now listen to this still. Right? Mickey van der Ven, right? 62 league games he's been available for. Mickey van der Ven has played 36 of them, which means he's only played 58% available. Then when you take into all the games that Van der Ven's been available for in his Tottenham career, he's played 51% of games. So since those two have signed, one plays 60% of the games, one plays 50%. I'm going to throw it out to you and add on a question of my own in here, Stel. You can't continue with that season after season. Surely at some point we've got to go, that too can't be the partnership. In my opinion, you can't. You know they're both injury prone, right? 51% and 61%. What do you make of that stat? And I don't know if you'd heard that before.
I'd like to see their availability stats when Ange isn't the manager, because there's a question here of, do you remove the manager to get more game time availability from the two players, or do you remove the players because regardless of who the manager is, they're just not available half the time? That's the question that needs to be asked. For me, I think if you remove Ange, you get a lot more game time from these players. It's the way we play. It pushes them too hard. Look at the injury crisis we've got at Spurs. Half of it is self-inflicted. Half of the injury crisis is self-inflicted. And we know that's a fact because it happened at Celtic. If we didn't have similar data that came out of Celtic, we'd say, well, maybe it's just an anomaly, but it's not. This is a trend under Ange Ball. So do you get rid of the players or do you get rid of the manager? For me, you get rid of the manager if you want to keep the players. If you don't want to keep the players, then get rid of the players. But at the same time, Savva, we do also have to ask the question, if you aren't available, then what good are you to the club? As much as he divided opinion, Ian, as much as he divided opinion, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, he always made himself available for Spurs.
Always playing, wasn't he? Always.
He was always available for Spurs. And you look at a player like Declan Rice, people say he's well worth the 100 million. I don't think Declan Rice is worth £100 million, but a player of that level that makes himself available every single game, which he does, yeah, now he's worth 100 million because he's always available. You need players that can put themselves forward and say, "Gaffer, I can play." That in the end, that's what cost Ledley King. Unbelievable centre back, but couldn't see it out. And in the end, his career was cut short. So availability is a massive part of being a professional football player. Sometimes it's bad luck. Sometimes it's self-inflicted. And I think with Van de Ven, especially, I think it's self-inflicted. I don't think this is normal, what we're seeing in terms of injuries from a lot of sprint work. A lot of it stems from sprint work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I'll ask you, Lubo, you could be an extension. We'll get your question, but you could be an extension. And when people ask Savva Stel, they can ask Lubo as well, as long as Stel's happy for you to be here for the duration. And I'm sure he is, because we love you, Lubo.
Go on, then. You're
like the font of all knowledge. But before we get your question, Lubo, it doesn't, again, I want people, when they're asked this question, to remove their emotion as to what they think of these two players. Stel is right, isn't he? If this manager is going to continue, Spurs need, for me, a brand new centre-back pairing, because 51% and 61% is, you can't have that, can you, Lubo? You can't have your centre-halves all season being the excuse every week as to, we're not winning because our centre-backs aren't fit. Well, that's after a while, that's our fault, right?
Yeah, no, I said that to my son this morning. We need two new centre-backs because you can't have it. Listen, it's great having the best. And for me, Romero is a fabulous centre-back. I know he's made a few mistakes this season, but generally the way he's calm under pressure, one-on-ones, he's excellent. He comes away with the ball. His passing is superb. You can't have players that are permanent, not permanently, constantly injured. You've got to give Ben Davies another contract, haven't you? Basically, you will end up getting
or act like a big club and actually buy some proper centre halves. I mean, the fact that Ben Davies is still here is testament to him as a professional, that he steps in and does a job. But I mean, it shouldn't be, right? We shouldn't be, what is this, 11 years, 10 years down the line?
Yeah, I mean, with Ange, you need 8 centre-backs in a squad of 25, don't you, basically?
Yeah.
So listen, you've got Phillips, Dorrington and Vuskovic at the club next season.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
No shortage of centre-backs. Let's hope we've got a new manager, preferably next week. But there you go.
I really hope so. I do really hope so. We'll get to that a bit more later. We've got loads of questions stored up. We're going to get to yours first. Before we do get to yours, Ian, can I just get to, I've got to do the super chats. Otherwise, it's bad of me as a YouTuber. James Watts has asked us all the question. Simone Inzaghi or Julian Nagelsmann as Spurs manager? Guys, I mean, for me, this is a complete hypothetical because neither is going to be Tottenham Hotspur manager. Nagelsmann, if I'm not wrong, just signed a brand new contract with Germany, if I'm right. And Inzaghi is the manager of Inter Milan, right? If I'm right, Simone Inzaghi is Inter Milan, isn't he? He's not leaving Inter Milan to join Tottenham Hotspur in any way, shape, or form. Guys, who would you rather have, I guess, is the question.
Cool. They're both decent, aren't they?
Nagelsmann all day long.
There would only be a chance of Inzaghi coming because Nagelsmann already spoke to Levy before Ange got appointed. And that didn't work out, so couldn't see that happening.
I can only imagine that someone like Inzaghi would go, right, Daniel, look at the players I've got with Inter Milan at the moment. Who are you going to buy for me here? Oh, okay, you're buying 18-year-olds. Yeah, no, I'm all right, thanks, mate. I'll be honest, I'd rather have Inzaghi. I like him. I think he's a very good coach. I really do. But again, it's another one for me where this is stepping into the Conte Jose realm where it really doesn't matter if you have those managers with what we buy. But I really appreciate that super chat, James. And then Mark Taylor's come in with a super chat and said, who is, in your opinion, is the greatest Spurs strike partnership you have ever seen? Now, I'm guessing the answer is going to be very different from Stel to Lubo. But let's see. Let me start with Stel. Stel, best Spurs partnership you've seen?
That I've seen in my life. Mate, you can't deny Kane and Son in their prime were just unstoppable, man. Any team, they did it so often. That best I've seen, not the most successful, right? So two different things. Best I've seen is Kane and Son on their day. Them two. The fact that they're the best partnership strike force ever in Premier League history as well, in terms of goals and assists. The best I've watched with my eyes, Klinsmann, Sheringham. Sorry, the most successful I'd say was Sheringham, Klinsmann, Berbatov, Keane. But the best I've seen, yeah, Kane and Son, man. Kane and Son in their prime at Spurs. We nearly won a league title with them.
Kane and Son from Stel. Lubo, are you going somewhere else? Are you sticking with that?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I've seen 4.
Yeah, but this isn't fair because Ian can go back to.
Hang on. Hang on. When Teddy Sheringham was asked who's better, Gazza or Hoddle, he stayed on the fence. He wouldn't answer. He sort of swerved out of it. He said, I can't answer it. They're two different players. They're both fantastic players. I've seen 4 fantastic partnerships. I've seen Greaves and Gilzean. I've seen Archibald and Crooks. I've seen Sheringham and Klinsmann and Kane and Son. So I wouldn't know how do you pick because they've all been fantastic. Seriously, they've all been brilliant.
Who's the best you've seen?
That's a great speech. But now I'm going to ask you for an answer. I'm going to give it 25% to each of them. No. We're not doing that. We're not doing that here.
Savva, reword it. Reword this. Right, Ian.
Who's the best? Who's
the best? If you want £1 million cash, you must pick one partnership. For £1 million cash, you can't split the money. Who are you picking?
Sheringham and Klinsmann.
So as soon as you put money into it.
Can I just say, Lubo, I'm with you. I'm with you. Sheringham and Klinsmann for me was the ultimate partnership. Everything you want from two centre forwards. I'll tell you the reason why I don't think Son and Kane. I think it's because I've never seen Sonny as a striker. This is why I think when I look at Sheringham and Klinsmann and Shearer have both said that Sheringham was the best strike partner they ever had. And when you think of the players Shearer and Klinsmann would have played with in their career, I'm going with those two.
I must tell you something. Chivers and Peters weren't shabby either. So we've had some fantastic partnerships through the years.
Stel called it as well, though. Even when you look at Keane and Berbatov, for me, potentially one of the greatest players I've ever seen in the Spurs shirt.
I mean, there's 6 partnerships. There are 6. Think of it, 6 partnerships in the last 55 years, 60 years. Amazing.
And now we've got Solanke and Tell, so we're kind of in the same ballpark, aren't we? So it's all very good. But look, Berbatov and Keane, Gilzean, Chivers, Kane and Sonny. I mean, listen, it makes me sad when I see questions like that, gentlemen. It makes me sad because I look at the players we've got now and I go, like when I sent Lubo in that group chat yesterday, when I sent the compilation of Gareth Bale, I watched that compilation for 6 minutes and went, fucking hell, God, how good was he? And then I go back to our fan base going, oh my God, Kulu. And I'm like, I don't know. Anyway, let's get to Lubo's question. And then, by the way, I've got 19 questions stored up from people in the chat. So
quick one for both of you. Hypothetical question. Season ends today. Who's Spurs' best young player of the year this season?
For fuck's sake. I wonder why he's asked this, Stel. I wonder why he's asked this question.
Brandon Austin.
Okay, that's fair enough. He's had 2 good games.
Honestly, what's classed as young? What's the age limit? What age does it stop being young?
Yeah.
Listen, teenage.
Well, I mean, teenagers have played other than Gray.
Yeah, like
Well, you got a handful.
Gray and Bergvall. Gray, Bergvall, Moore.
Unbelievable.
Right? That's where we're at with this, right?
Lancashire.
I mean, look, it would be for me. It would be Archie Gray, right? Purely because Archie Gray's played right back, centre back, left back. I would love to answer that question, Ian. If I'm honest, I would like to answer that. If everyone was fit and then he put in the youngsters, I'd then like to answer that question. I don't want to answer that question based on the fact that he's had to use Archie Gray as a Swiss Army knife rather than actually going, I bought you as a midfielder, let's see you as a midfielder. But it would be great. And I know now you're going to be really happy with me for weeks and weeks.
Unfortunately, I think he's going to play centre-back probably or full-back for the rest of the season because I'm struggling with why Romero's taking time to get fit. Mickey, who knows? I mean, who knows whether he'll end up having an op or not? No one knows. It's, the club have been very, very quiet apart from saying that he felt something after the game. Who knows? Will we see Van der Ven again this season? It's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah, and by the time we see him, will we be knocked out of two competitions? We'll talk about that a bit later after questions, but it's a great point, isn't it? If you go out of both competitions this week, Van der Ven's coming back essentially to, all right, we've got the European competition, but he's coming back to help us get from 14th to 10th or 11th. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, but at that stage, do you get to the point where you go, well, look, we're not going down, right? Hypothetical, this is, of course. If we go at these two domestic cups, do you then say, right, we're just going to wrap Van der Ven in cotton wool for European nights? You know what I mean? And then it doesn't really matter about the league. I don't know.
No, I fully agree. If that's what it takes, because at the end of the day, it's big money for the club if Spurs do win the Europa. His name starts with G.
We knew what he did, Nige. Nige, we all know what Lubo was getting at, right? This wasn't a fair question, was it?
I said it before he came on. I heard
Stel. I had to smile. I was smiling as you said it.
I've never seen a love for a player like this before in my life.
I must tell you something. Still, it was only triggered by everybody on your podcast every week saying, send him out on loan, and it was like, right, I'm gonna battle against this. So unfortunately, like the legend of Archie Gray has now grown on podcasts.
The legend of Archie Gray. The legend of Archie Gray. My God.
Oh, love it. Honestly, I, this morning, the first, I don't know if it was an email or a WhatsApp, but Lubo sent me, it was like, high praise indeed for Archie Gray. I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to have to read about Archie Gray every single time someone writes about this man?
No, that was Ange. That was a bit of banter because it came from Ange.
I was going to say, Ange didn't WhatsApp me. It was definitely you, Lubo. It wasn't Ange WhatsApp.
Ange asked me to send it to you.
I'm sure he did. Look, Stel, it cracks me up, man. The way that Lubo, Johnny as well, I'm looping Johnny into this. The way that Johnny and Lubo talk about our youth, I feel like I should be watching Gareth Bale. You know what I mean? I feel like that they're watching something that I'm not.
Next year, in front of Vicario, just play, I don't know, Spence, Vuskovic, Phillips or Dorrington. Left back, we'll have to buy a left back, I think. Or Mason King will come through. Midfield of Bergvall, Donnelly and Gray. And up front, we'll have to find some, who we got coming through from the kids up front.
To be fair, I love the youth as well. I've obviously got a history with youth football, but I'm not. I don't want to say carried away, but I'm not as invested. I'm not as invested in it until I see it delivered, because I know what it takes to bridge that gap from youth to adult, and we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We're not.
No, we're not
there yet.
Joking aside, listen, it's at the moment, in terms of Gray and his position, no one knows in the Premier League. So hopefully he'll get a chance, and we'll see if he can do it.
Ian, do you know what it is?
They'll have to find someone who's better. You know, it's
Ian, do you know what it is? The other night, for example, was when we beat Effersborg. It was the kids, you know, Adeji, Scarlett, Moore scored the goals, and everyone's like, the kids saved us. Made in Tottenham and all that. Brilliant. But it's Effersborg. You got to start somewhere, so you can't take away the credit from them. You got to start somewhere.
Worse than Tamworth. Seriously,
exactly.
It was less of a game than Tamworth.
This is the difference. I'm watching those kids shine against Effersborg, and I'm watching 17 and 19-year-olds scoring blinders against Man City, the Arsenal kids. That's the difference.
Oh, there's levels.
And until I see Mikey Moore score a curler, the winner at Anfield, or I see Dane Scarlett go 1-on-1, go around Allison and slot it in to make it 2-1, then we can say these kids have arrived. But will they get those chances is a different story as well. You know, will they get those chances?
Well,
look, let's get some questions. We've got to get some questions, guys. We've got to get some questions. The point of the show. Let me get to some questions. All right. This will come up throughout the show. I'm sure of it. Don't worry. Here we go. Oh, there's just quick. And I think this one. Mets VR has said that's a lovely logo, isn't it? Honestly, can't see how you can't say Gray is outstanding. Again, because I don't chuck superlatives at kids. Like, you know, the way that people like you, Mets VR, probably chuck superlatives at Moore, who, let's be honest, when he has played, has been very, very underwhelming. But he is 17. Like, I'm not going to judge him until he's like 19, you know, filled out a bit, you know, strong, had some. I just feel, look, we've been talking about this loads in our group chat lately. I don't know what is outstanding about him. That's the question for me. I don't know how a player who started 10 Premier League games for Spurs can be considered outstanding when he's not even in his own position.
Do you not think it's all to do with mentality, the way he's slotted in, the way an 18-year-old kid has come in and played in a different position and not been out of place?
I mean, but when you say not out of place, we've lost nearly every one of those games. Like, so when we're saying not out of place, the thing that gets me is when we lose games, I don't know if Stel agrees. I haven't spoken to Stel about this. When we lose games, Stel, the excuse is, but look, we've had to play kids and people out of position, right? But yet that's the same very thing people want me to lavish praise on the youngsters. Like, which one is it? Have they been good or not? I'm torn on them. I think we've seen some decent performances. Take Bergvall. Bergvall, for me, does some good stuff. Lots of games completely pass the kid by, which I would expect at that age. That's why I don't go, he's outstanding.
No.
Outstanding, Lubo. Outstanding.
But
is when I watch Kevin De Bruyne. Right?
Would you nobody's saying in terms of, it's not just about not saying he's outstanding as a player, full stop. He's 18 years old. He's learning his trade.
Yeah.
I think also you judge a player. You know, if you have a salesman selling for a company who's been selling 10 years, and you got a kid that's come in and he's 6 months in, you're going to judge them differently, aren't you? The metric that you judge them is different, and I think.
But he's also a Premier League footballer. This isn't like I'm judging someone that's never played football before. We went out, spent money on this kid because of his quality. So show me the quality. Now, Ian, I've said the same thing about Gray from day one. I will judge him when I see him in central midfield, controlling midfields.
No, but you can judge him. You can judge him as a footballer for temperament, for versatility.
Ian,
the positions that he's played.
The issue here is right. This is where the conversation just goes into 10 different directions. If you look at Lamine Yamal at the Euros for Spain, 17 years old, that's outstanding. When you look at Wayne Rooney when he burst onto the scene at 16 for Everton, that's outstanding, right? The way we use words like class, outstanding, magnificent, it's ridiculous. It's beyond a joke. Okay. What Archie Gray is a good, young, versatile player. And that's where the conversation should be left. Let's see where it goes. But what we do is world class, outstanding, sensational. Not you. I'm referring to the comments Savva brought up. That guy that said, "I can't believe you guys can't see he's outstanding." It's the choice of words. I don't think a lot of fans, especially in comments of shows, their choice of words aren't correct. Their choice of words are inappropriate. Not inappropriate as inoffensive. Inappropriate as in what you mean is good, or he's not doing too badly, is he? This Archie Gray. He looks like he's got something about him. But what we do is we make them sound like they're Wayne Rooney, Lamani Yamal. We make them sound like they're freaking Messi at 18. They're not.
But it's things like this, Stel. It's things like Gray will be the best midfielder at the club in less than 18 months, given the chance. Fine. It's okay to say that. But Stel, the thing for me is based on what? These three words are massive for me in football, Stel. Based on what? We can't just say Gray's going to be the best midfielder at the club when the manager has not played him in midfield once.
I would change the word will to could.
But again, based on
seeing him play in all competitions against all the big clubs and doing himself justice big time as an 18-year-old kid, because he can only get better.
But not in midfield. But this is
not yet in midfield.
Not in midfield.
But if you look at the performances that have been getting better and better as he comes on, he's not outstanding.
Listen, if you want a young
kid, he's outstanding. Yamal is like probably the best 17-year-old in the world. So you can't. That's not a fair metric to judge every kid against.
But that's what outstanding looks like.
Our fans are the ones that do that, Ian. Our fans are the ones. Look at Mikey Moore, right? Mikey Moore, every weekend people go, oh, Mikey Moore has to play. Mikey Moore, he's going to grab a brace today. Let's be brutally honest. In the Premier League games that Mikey Moore has started, he's looked like a 17-year-old kid who's not ready. Prove me wrong if you want. Crystal Palace, when he started, it was, and I'm not knocking him, he shouldn't be ready. He's 17 years of age. But what have our fans done? They saw a 15-minute cameo against Alkmaar where he ruined their fullback. And everyone went, oh, my God, he is Lamau. He is Messi. It's like, whoa. He scores a goal against Elfsborg. Fine, great. I'm really happy for the young kid. Then he plays against Brentford and I don't notice him. And that's not me being horrible, but other people want to put him up there. Stop putting players up there and then making excuses for them. Not you.
Sam, I think Mikey Moore has been started. I think it was started Sunday basically because of the injury crisis that we've got. You know, if you had Werner there, and based on his selections up to now, you put and Ange would be putting. That's right. I know. Ange would be putting Werner in front. He'd possibly be putting Odegaard in front. If Solanke was fit, Son would be on the left, so Moore wouldn't even play, would he? So I think Moore's just in basically because we did the same with Parrott. That's right.
No, I agree with you. And I hope, Ian, I keep saying this to you in the group chat, so I know people in the chat won't believe me. I want to think that every 18-year-old that plays for Tottenham will go on to do what Harry Kane and Ledley King and Sol Campbell did, right? I would like to think they do that. But like we talked about this morning Ian, in the group, the evidence shows that if you look at over the last decade, the 40, 50 kids that have come through our academy, most of them filter out and don't end up doing anything for Tottenham. They go elsewhere. Yeah. And this is why I'm loathed to, like Stel said, the wording. I'm loathed to chuck words at these youngsters like, he is sensational, he's magical, he's generational, his ceiling is here. We don't know that. Like, look, this is what people are banking on. We saw glimpses against Chelsea when he played it for Leeds. Sure, but that was well over a year ago, and the kid hasn't played in central midfield since. So surely we wait to see him in midfield for 5-10 games and say, yeah, he's going to be our number one midfielder. Surely, before we go, he's better than all our other midfielders. Surely, don't we? Just common sense says that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people are judging him on just the way he's slotted in, the way he's helped the club. There aren't many 18-year-olds that could come in and play in all different positions. You know, you're not going to name me 15, 20 players that can suddenly just slot in, never played in the Premier League, and are playing right the way across the back four, which is out of position for him. You know, and if he did. Was it Jose brought Parrott in, didn't he? Everybody was going mad for Parrott. Jose brought Parrott in against Norwich in the Cup. And at that stage, he was completely out of his depth. And he looked completely lost. And Jose hooked him. And that's what I'm saying. Feels like Romero, don't know. Yeah, it does feel that way. So that's the point. You know, Graham Bergvale have not looked like Parrott did that day. They've looked on a level above. So,
yeah. Look, I listen. Last thing I'll say is I've got to get some questions. I look at Gray and I see a kid who, he looks like he's got a good head on his shoulders. I also see a kid that his passing is really poor. If I'm going to be brutally honest, when I think his passing, so many times I see this kid just pass the ball into touch. I don't understand what's going on there. But I see a kid who is filling in. I will judge him like anyone else. I'm not going to judge. For example, I wouldn't judge. If Troy Parrott had come into the Spurs team as a kid and played central midfield, I'm not going to judge him on that. I will judge him when he's played up front. We saw Troy Parrott play up front and went, you ain't good enough, right? That's the way it is. So I want to see Archie Gray get that midfield game, Ian, to the point where we go, all right, go on, stay in there for 10 games. That's up to Ange.
That's right. What's Ange been doing for the last X amount of months, basically? That's right. Me too. I want to see him play because Basuma, Bentancur, Sarr have been so inconsistent. They really haven't hit the levels that our players should be hitting. Anyway, let's move on.
Agree. Let's get to the to the questions. What I would ask is, please, guys and girls, please do smash the like button if you haven't already. We've got 504 in here and only 146 likes. And please do keep subscribing. I've lost 2 today, which makes me very sad inside. Not really, but we are 150 exactly away from 16,500. 150. So if any of you haven't subscribed, please do. It really does. It really does help out, and I'd be grateful. And if you want to subscribe to Tottenham Away as well, that would be wonderful as well. I've put the link in the chat for my channel. Let's get to some questions. No more questions in the chat, please. I've stored 26. The chances we'll get to them all. I'm sure many of them will be quite repeated. When was the moment you both declared as Ange out? And do you truly think that he can turn all of this around? Stel, when was the moment you were first Ange out? And can he turn everything around?
Yeah, I think I've said this about 1,000 times, but just a reminder, 1,001. When we re-signed Timo Werner, that was me done. And do I think he can turn it around? No. I think we'll improve in the league table, but turning it around as in what? Getting into the top 6?
Right.
Maybe next season. This season, no. Winning a trophy? No.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we'll win a trophy under Ange this season.
I mean, Lubo, when did you first become Ange? I think you are Ange out, right? You.
Yeah. I think just think there's so much the system that he plays, the intensity with training, the lack of in-game management, the selections. I think there are so many different reasons why I'm Ange out. Listen, I think if we lose the next 2 games, my feeling is, and I've said on here a few times over the last few weeks, my feeling is that he will go. I thought we'd lose at Brentford. Those 3 points give him a buffer, 10-point buffer. You know, you go and beat United and Ipswich, and I think that's, you know, he'll be kept for the Europa League definitely. When did I first think out? I felt his selections after the 4-1 Chelsea defeat were strange. I got caught up, I'll be honest with you, the Chelsea game with 9 men, I got caught up with that whole thing. And I did feel that if Dyer had been an inch or 2 back the other way at 2-2, that would have been the most amazing game of risk that may well have come off. But I felt playing Dyer instead of Phillips and Højbjerg instead of Lo Celso at Wolves was strange. I thought for West Ham and Villa in November, and I think it was December, that playing, taking off Lo Celso and putting Skip on when we were losing was strange. Putting Skip on instead of Donnelly. But for me, when I changed completely was the game at Brighton. And I was gone on 70 minutes. It just meant we caught the train home a bit early and we got home an hour earlier. We were 4-0 down after 70 minutes. We were 2 down at half time. It could have been 7. And he stood there with his hands in his pockets while Brighton ripped us to pieces. And it could have been, that day, it could have been anything. As it happens, I think Veliz came on and scored and someone else scored and Højbjerg hit the post. So it finished up 4-2 and it was a lot closer. Like Galatasaray, it was a lot closer than the actual game showed. But
Ian, just to give you an idea of how the question show goes, we kind of need to get the answer needs to go a lot quicker. I've got 25 questions to get to. I've got 25 to get to.
Right, one-liners now.
What? No, it doesn't have to be one-liners. Just we got to wrap them up quicker.
Two lines.
Phil, all I'll say is look at the 2 kids at Arsenal. That's all I'll say. When you're talking about, all I'll say is look at the 2 kids at Arsenal, right? All I'll say is, look, there are other clubs with good youngsters. We've got to stop pretending that it's just us. Guys, I don't even need words to answer when I was first Ange out. Ready?
Oh, you've got the image.
There we go. For anyone, this was the moment I realised we had an absolute kamikaze nutter of a manager. Next question. Steve Watts said, do you both think Ange should be held accountable over VDV? I don't think he was this injury prone until Ange got hold of him. Well, we kind of talked about this before. Just really quickly, from my point of view, I know that he had an injury before he joined Spurs, but I hold him accountable for the fact that is what we're doing to Van de Ven. We have got a whole system and tactic that revolves around Van de Ven making multiple sprints back every game and making him stretch. You make anyone stretch that much, your hamstrings are going. Guys, do you agree? Different to my answer?
100%. There's my answer.
Well, you don't have to be that short, Ian. You don't have to go 2-3 ways.
Got nothing more to add. You cannot have a situation where a player is making 15 50-yard recovery runs in a game. It's crazy. Just mad. It's just... And the training as well. They would surely the medical team. Having said that, the medical team, making Dragusin bounce up and down when he's got an ACL was just ridiculous the other day. So the medical team should be a lot better than they are and should be telling Ange, this guy has got a weakness in his hamstring. So that should have been sorted out before they even bought him, because if Ange is playing in this system, you're stretching a guy with a weakness in his hamstrings. It doesn't make sense, does it? Really?
No, I completely agree. Stel, are you putting it on Ange?
Yeah, we spoke about it earlier. We spoke about Van de Ven missing games. I said the tactics do him no justice. All that sprinting, stop, start, cold, hot. It's not helping the cause, is it?
No, completely agree.
Yeah, I do put it on.
Listen, a couple of questions in a row that I'll group in together. So, they're both about the game tomorrow. So, Sav has asked for the prediction for Liverpool-Tottenham. He thinks we're going to get battered with no VDV. And Aaron's then turned around in the same vein of, hang on, what's going on here? Come on, StreamYard. There you go. What's your guys' predictions, hope for our front three and midfield three for tomorrow? Lubo, I'll wrap this in to you for the score prediction. And what would be your midfield and forward line for tomorrow?
3-1 Liverpool. Midfield 3 would be... In fact, let me start with the front 3. The front 3 for me would be Son, Tel and Kulu. And midfield 3 would be Basuma, Bentancur and Bergvall.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So 3-1 Liverpool, which would see them go through to the final. Okay. Stel?
I can't predict the score, but I know Liverpool will be in the final. Spurs will go out. Whether they batter us, whether they just beat us by a goal. In fact, I don't think they're going to batter us. They'll beat us by a goal or two max. It might even go to penalties and they beat us on penalties, but we are not going to Anfield under the lights midweek. With You'll Never Walk Alone pumping before kickoff. Our kids will absolutely shit themselves. And I think in the end, they'll knock us out because that's Anfield, and they're a better team than us. Also, I think that they've got this vendetta now against us because of that injustice they think occurred. That Bergvall should have been sent off and not been on the pitch to score the 1-0 winner of the first leg. So they'll look at this game as a bit of a revenge game, and they'll get their revenge, and that's how it'll be pictured after the game. All their fans will say that's for cheating in the first leg. Whether it's true or not, that's what they'll do. In terms of midfield, I think he'll go with Bentancur, Bissouma, Kulu. And the front three will be Son, Richarlison, and I think he might start Tell. I don't think he's going to start Danso, though. I think Danso will come on, but I don't think he'll start.
I think he'll start.
Fair enough.
I think he'll start. The other thing also is just waiting to see. I think they'll pull a surprise with the goalkeeper. I think he'll be playing. He's been training for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm not too bothered about the goalkeepers. I'm not too bothered about the goalkeepers. I don't think any. I'll be honest. I don't think any of them are that great. I feel like it's much of a muchness. If I'm brutally honest, that's just me. But we'll get to the goalkeepers a bit later. I think it will be 2-1 to Liverpool. I think it will go to extra time, and then I think that the Anfield crowd will take over, and I do think that they will knock us out. Listen, I really hope I'm wrong. We deserve to be in a final, but I do think they will, and I think the midfield three, I agree. I think will be Bissouma. I'd like to see him try something different and get Kulu in the 10, but I know he won't. I think it will be Bissouma, Sarr, Bergvall. I think it will be Bissouma, Sarr, Bentancur. I think he goes for all three to try and be a little bit more solid in front of the back four. And then I think it's going to be Tell through the middle, Sonny left, Kulu right. I think it'll be that. Next question is this. This is an interesting one. Hussein Marios has said, do you think our season is over if we lose to Liverpool and the Villa this week? Well, as you know, guys, I did a video on this today, and people can't get the difference between me asking a question. Apparently, me asking the question of, does Ange need to win these games to save his job? Apparently means I'm not a real fan. Guys, is our season over if we lose these 2 games?
No, it's not over because we got the Europa League.
Okay.
And along with, I think the top 6 who finished in the group stage are the 6 that the winner will come from, which will be Lazio, Bilbao, United, Spurs, who are the other 2? Frankfurt, and there was one other, wasn't there? I can't think. But there were. Did they finish? I think they finished 7th, Rangers 8th. Who was the 5th? I can't even think. But maybe Galatasaray, if it was a question of scoring more than they concede. But
okay. So it's not okay. So the season's not over if we win. Still, for you, we get knocked out of both domestic cups. We're 14th in the league. Is the season over, or do you think we've got a chance of winning the Europa League?
Our season ended when we kept Ange.
I agree.
Is the season over? Savva, I felt the season's been over from very early on, man. I'm Ian and I have had these chats. I've fallen out of love with the club this season so much. It's unbelievable. Nothing's changed for me. I don't believe in the chairman. I don't believe in the recruitment. I don't believe in the manager. I don't believe in half these players, man. I don't. Is it over? Theoretically, no, because Ian's right. We've got the Europa. Do I think we're going to win the Europa? No, I don't. Sorry. I know people want to have hope and they want to cling on to bits of minute positivity, but supporting this club for 25 years, and I see the same patterns over and over again. I'm seeing them happen yet again. So, look, if we brought in a manager who's tactically better defensively, then I'd say, yeah, we can win the Europa, but we're not going to. We're not going to be. He's just gung ho. And it's not about giving up. It's about being honest. There's a lot of people that still cling on to. It's like there's a lot of fans that never learn. They never ever learn. They just want to get burnt. They want to get stung. They want pain, and then they get upset when we get called Spursy. They get upset when we're laughed at. They get upset when there's civil war inside the club. It's because you guys fuel it. You feed it, right? I'm not saying don't go to games, don't enjoy it. Do it all. But this is me. I'm talking about me. I don't represent nobody else. I represent Stelios. And for me, nah, man, it's you ain't fooling me again. I've been burnt too many times.
Nothing.
The only way I'll change my mind ever, Ian, is if we actually lift that trophy. If we lift a trophy, then I'll say, okay, maybe now I can begin to think differently. But you ain't telling me anything I've seen this season says we're winning silverware. Sorry.
Can I say, look, from my point of view, by the way, first of all, I can't believe how tight over 570 people are with likes. Guys and girls, come on, you've got to smash those likes. It really does help channels. 169 likes. Please smash that button. From my point of view, bearing in mind the question was asked if we don't win these two games. This isn't me saying, the question is if we don't win these two games, the season over. For me, yes. Because I've seen, unlike Lubo, I've seen nothing from this manager that suggests to me he can go toe-to-toe with these better clubs in the Europa League over two legs. I've seen nothing suggest it. I think we've been utterly shit in Europe. I think we've been awful in Europe and had some very, very easy games to negotiate. You look, we've played two decent teams, didn't beat either of them. One of them gave us a footballing lesson. Yeah, Rangers played us off the park. Rangers, right? And people go, yeah, but with a full-strength team, when are we ever going to have a full-strength team? That full-strength team lost to Ipswich, to Palace. That full-strength team buckled against Brighton. So for me, I don't think there's enough tactical nous with the manager to negotiate winning a European trophy. You give me a tactical manager, I've got no reason why we can't. But I think as you go deeper into those stages, Sociedad, for example, I think Bilbao, Lazio, I think their managers will be more astute, know how to play it, and won't go gung-ho. So I don't see any way at all that we win this European trophy. And I don't know why. I've never heard us so arrogant about it, Stel and Ian. I've never heard, like in all the years we've been in European competitions, when we've had better teams and better managers, we didn't talk like this. Now all of a sudden it's, well, we're going to win the Europa. It's like, well, what? Why?
No. What I said was we are one of six, I think, who the winners will come from.
With a bookie's favourite.
The reason I say that is that, yes, it's been overall it's been an appalling league campaign. But we put in some really good performances against top teams. And we just got to negotiate 4 rounds, 7 matches, and if you do enough in a home game, you may have enough to see you through in the away game. So 7 games, it's possible. In a league season of 38, there are many teams in the division that are better than us for various reasons. But in Europe, we're down to 7 games now, potentially. And you look at it. I mean, you look at the draw: Midtjylland or Sociedad, Alkmaar or Galatasaray. Galatasaray only won 3 out of the 8 group matches. That's all they did.
Did we win 4?
We won 5.
On 5, I am.
We finished 4th. They finished 14th, I think it was.
Yeah.
We
did have a nice, easy. We had a very, very nice run, didn't we? Let's be fair. Who's the highest ranked team we've beaten in Europe this season?
Probably Roma in mid-table. Probably Galatasaray.
No, beat. Who's the highest ranked? I mean, what is it? Ferencvaros?
Who do we beat?
We didn't beat anyone. We didn't beat anyone of significance. Nobody.
No one. We've beaten nobody. But this
Ferenc,
is what I don't get.
Ferencvaros 17th, Fenerbahce 24th, Elfsborg 26th, Hoffenheim 27th, and who was the other one we beat? Karabag.
AZ Alkmaar.
No, Karabag at the bottom.
Yeah, but this is what I mean.
Beg your pardon, we beat Alkmaar, didn't we?
That's what you said.
So again, when I say things like about Archie Gray,
19th.
When I say I need to see, and when I always say, guys, I need to see evidence. Again, I need to see evidence in Europe that this manager knows what he's doing. This manager's history in Europe is shocking. Ask any Celtic fan, right? So far from what I've seen in the Europa League, I'm completely underwhelmed with this guy's ability to manage games. Ferencvaros nearly came back against us. Alkmaar, we needed a penalty. Yeah. Elfsborg, we needed the kids to turn up in the last 15 minutes. Karabag are absolutely crap, aren't they? And then we've played two decent teams, as I said, Roma and Galatasaray, and we struggled. And that for me that's the difference.
Hoffenheim nearly pulled it back to 3-3. They had a penalty disallowed as well. And they're really listen. Look, I'll say it again. I've seen nothing of significance this season to tell me we're winning trophies. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen something where I say this team.
Chance, right? Tomorrow's the best chance still because we're 180 minutes away from winning one. Right? But Europa League.
Listen, go to Anfield, knock out Liverpool, and then I'll say I've seen something. I've seen something different that I'm not used to. I've seen something that my eyes aren't used to seeing at this club, under this chairman, under this manager, under this right. But if we get knocked out at Liverpool Anfield, I'm not even going to be. I told you so. I'm going to be, guys. If I was trying to explain this, and it just falls on deaf ears because we never learn. We never, ever, ever, ever learn. So go knock out Liverpool, and I'll change my tune. But we won't knock out Liverpool. We just won't.
I agree. And when he's saying you can only beat what's in front of you, well, Rangers were in front of us, Galatasaray were in front of us, Roma were in front of us.
And likewise, Jordan, I can only judge by the level of opposition in front of us, and the level of opposition are shit. You know, it's not just in Europe. Crystal Palace, Ipswich, Leicester. These teams are disastrous. They all beat us.
Wolves.
They all beat us. Wolves. You know, these are teams with but because we get the odd good win against Man City 4-0, the odd 4-0 Villa, the odd 1-0 in the first leg of Carabao. Because of these random wins, it kind of suggests things to fans that aren't reality. The issue is there's been no consistency under Ange ever since day one. After those 10 games, there's no consistency, none. There's no momentum. There's nothing he's ever built on without it falling apart again or stop, start. We need consistency, man. Consistency breeds momentum. Momentum is when you're consistent, and when you're consistent, that's where confidence breeds. And when you're confident, teams fear you and you believe. Where's the confidence if we've never got any momentum? You know, it's like going to the gym. People say, "Oh, you've got to do the perfect workout." No, you don't. Go to the gym. If you consistently turn up, and from bench pressing 40, you can bench press 42.5. Then you can bench press 45. Then you can, after 2 months, you're bench pressing 60. You're still not at 150, but you know what? I started at 40. I'm at 60 now. There's momentum. You're building. That's where confidence comes from. I'm confident I can get to 80 because I've proven I can go from 40 to 60. With Spurs and Ange and this Levy-Land project, where's the momentum? Where are we building confidence? Because it's confidence that wins. It's confidence that oozes success. You look at Liverpool, confidence. You look at Arsenal, confidence. You look at us, freaking, it's just like we're all over the place.
in the Premier League, like, haven't we only won 2 games in a row once this season, if I'm not wrong, which was Brentford and Man United? This is why I don't understand when people say things like making us favourites fit. I genuinely don't know what they're watching that makes them go, that's a proper outfit. I feel we're a mess.
Paddy Power have made Spurs. They're still favourites, Spurs. That's the bookies.
Fine. That's the bookies, but then the bookies aren't looking at our performances, are they?
No. I haven't spoken to anyone who makes us favourites to win the Europa.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
The bookies have us as favourite. Yeah.
Nobody I've personally spoken to has said to me they think Spurs will win the Europa. Quite a few have said,
But Savva said the bookies.
Sorry, the bookies. I don't know where they get it from. I don't know.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, as I said, I'm with Stel. Show me. Show me. I want to see if Spurs get drawn to Lazio, to Athletic Bilbao, even Man United over 2 legs. Show me that we can go to one of those teams on a European, not because we've gone to Brentford and ground out a win. Show me we can go to one of these European teams on a night under the lights at their stadium and get a great result. So far in this European campaign, I've not seen it.
We'll have more of an idea 2 weeks on Friday when the draw for the Europa is made. The draw takes you right the way through to the final, so we'll know who's in our half of the draw. So it'd be interesting to see.
Sure,
yeah, that'd be good to see.
I don't fancy us against many of these teams. Like, I know when you go, look at we're one of 6. I don't think Bilbao will be sitting there going, God, we're worried about playing Tottenham. Their manager will go, I can get in behind these all day long. And that's the difference for me. Phil Coyes, please stop. You've asked this 4 times now. Just give it. I don't know what it's got to do with anything. Just relax. Look, let's get to the next question. Here we go. If we get to the final, who would you prefer to play? I'm guessing we're talking about the League Cup here. Arsenal or Newcastle? Stelios, fancy a nice North London derby at Wembley? Or do you fancy the Geordies? What you fancy him?
Fuck that. I want Newcastle all day long because let me tell you, right, if we lost to that lot from South London in a final, that's us done, man. I mean, that is me absolutely done. I will literally rebrand Tottenham away to Ange out TV. That is one of the most horrible games you could ever ask for, a North London derby final. On the flip side, if you won it, Ange is a hero. He's an absolute fucking hero. So it can go both ways. But I don't want to be in that situation, man, because we haven't beaten Arsenal once under Ange. Not once, right? And who's going to be more ready for that game, them or us? And they'll have Saka back. No. Listen, give me Newcastle because I think we can beat Newcastle. I think we can. Arsenal, I don't think we can. And the thing with Arsenal as well, they've got it in them to shut shop and defensively lock us out. And we are awful against low blocks. Yeah. And they are one of the best at it. So at least Newcastle, they give you a little something. So Savva, no brainer for me, man. If we get to a final, I want Newcastle. I don't want Arsenal. I don't want a North London derby final. I think that's horrible. It's horrible. Sure.
Newcastle have lost quite a few finals since they won their last competition, which was in 1969, which was the Intercity Fairs Cup. I think they beat Anderlecht. I think it was, and their last domestic trophy was 1955. So they haven't got at the club that winning mentality where you get over the line at this moment in time. So I'd much rather be playing somebody who's the same as us. We haven't been able to get over the line in any. I mean, we've had 5 finals, have we, in the last, 20 years? Lost a lot. Four finals? Lost a lot. And Newcastle lose, that they lost to Liverpool in 73. They lost to City in the League Cup in 76. I think they lost the FA Cup final 2 years running, I think, to Arsenal and Man United. They lost to United a couple of years ago in the League Cup. So, let's hopefully. Listen, I've got to tell you something. I'll be amazed if we get to the final. So I'd be gobsmacked if we got there. But yes, I'm like Newcastle.
A lot of people in the chat going, I can't believe you lot are talking about the final. I really don't know if you understand how the Ask Us Anything show works. People ask the question, we answer it. Like, it's really that simple. I agree with Lubo. I don't think we're going to get to a final. If we did get to the final, it's that bittersweet thing that Stel's talking about. It could be the greatest thing ever to play Arsenal if you win. If you lose it, though, can you imagine the banter? The banter we could give them would be great, but the banter they would give us would be horrific. Yeah, I'd be amazed if we get to the final. Yeah, we're playing Liverpool, the best team in the country, away at Anfield, where we don't ever win. Yes, I'll be amazed. I don't know what's so hard to believe about that. So for me, yeah, you go with Newcastle, but there is that romantic side to it of a North London derby final. I'm betting the police do not want a North London derby final as well. Yes. Just throwing that out there. I'm betting the London police don't want that. Hang on. Estel's having a battle with someone in the chat, I see. Is it with that Ange ball?
Yeah, I blocked him from my channel because he was saying some nasty stuff. But it's okay. Him being here doesn't bother me because I get to expose... There's a lot of... Thing is, they're trolls though, so I shouldn't really give them too much fuel. But there's you get these odd kind of puppet accounts or sock accounts, whatever they're called, that pop up just to try and wind up shows because they don't have jobs. I don't know. They're on the dole. They don't do anything in life. I don't know what they offer us, but they come on every show, which means they don't have any work. And what they do is they literally defend Ange to the hill, no matter what. And you either engage with them, right? Completely ignore them, and they just slag you off to the high ends, or you just say to them, "Well, I can either say the things you want me to say, and then you're happy, or I can have my own opinion, my own views, my own thought, and share that with you, and then you decide what you want to think, or we will just sing from the same hymn sheet. We're gonna win the league, guys. We're gonna win the cup. These signings are brilliant. Angie's going to get it right. Let's just constantly say that because that's what you want to hear. But then I'm lying. I don't mean it. I don't mean a word of it. I'm not a liar. I'm not dishonest. And I don't want to mislead people. I want to be honest, say it as it is, and be the real me. Now, if you don't like it, then you want a fake, dishonest panel that lied to you. Yeah. And this is the wrong show for you, man. And we're the wrong people for that because these other two chaps, they'll tell you exactly how they think and feel. And either you embrace that or you shit all over it because you're incapable of tolerating a different view. I don't know what more I can say, but there you go.
Stav, can I just answer Chris Lewis, who asked
I saw it. Yeah, go on.
I was absolutely delighted, but very surprised at our performance and the win on Sunday. Because we don't normally dig in like that. Normally we're gung-ho. Fun enough, I remember seeing the analytics after the Man United League Cup game when 1-4-3, and they were showing how United were piling down behind Porro, who left it wide open. If you remember the save that Forster made with his feet from Diallo, and I just couldn't believe that Spurs actually played properly on Sunday, played a mature game, had a proper back four, that played together. They were 20 yards apart, which is what they should be, not two centre-backs covering the whole width of the pitch. And I genuinely thought that if we lost to Brentford, we would get sucked into a relegation fight. Delighted to say that I was wrong. And I don't really, for me, hopefully now we'll go on, we'll win a few games. Because when you get into a spiral like that, 1 point from 21, very, very hard to get out of. When you haven't got any leaders in the team as well, that makes it even tougher. So full marks
by
to the
design.
Sorry?
By design.
Yeah. That's right. But can I just say that for me, after Man City away, that was our best performance and result of the season.
Yeah, look, fair play. Look, let's go to the next question. Here's an interesting one from Carlos Morales, who said Savva Stel and Lubo, the most underrated player in the Premier League.
Can I go first?
Go for it, man. Go for it.
Before we played them, I said I'm very interested to see how this player plays because I've seen one or two glimpses, but now we're playing them. I get to sit back and watch him play. He's not a star. He's nothing special, but he's so underrated. And I'm going to go with Anderson at Nottingham Forest. I think he's a really, really good player. Really good player. Much, much better than what he gets any credit for. What he does in that team, he's a big, big reason Nottingham Forest are in that top four, man. Honestly, I think he's very, very underrated. So that's my one.
Interesting. Lubo?
Oof. I don't know.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
It is a hard one. I mean, what I will tell you, we've got close ties to Newcastle because my wife's from up there, and the Newcastle fans that I'm friendly with are gutted that he left Newcastle last season.
Yeah, it was a PSR, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, they haven't, and that's why they haven't been able to buy anybody for three transfer windows.
Ian, do you know who's been good at Newcastle this season? Doesn't get much mention. Is Livramento the right back?
Yes,
yeah, I like him.
And
Hall,
they've both played really well, which is why Newcastle. Which is why did Trippier go to Galatasaray?
I think he has, hasn't he? I'm not sure.
I think so. I think so.
Let's see. Hang on 1 second. No. My mate Fabrizio Romano tends to know these types of things, doesn't he? Is there any pictures of Kieran Trippier? Can't see anything at the moment. Can't see anything, but somebody in the chat will let us know. That's for sure. Okay, mine would be anyone in the Bournemouth team. I think Marcus Tavernier is a very good player. I think that Semenyo is crazily underrated. Clive Ertz had a very good year. I know Kirkes, the left back, is. I think he'll be at Liverpool. Mark my words. He's going to Liverpool in the summer. That boy, he's a very good left back. A couple of others I want to give a shout out to. I would say Sander Berg at Fulham. Whenever I watch Sander Berg play, I think he does a really good job in midfield. Yeah, solid midfielder.
I'll go for Smith Rowe as far as Fulham's concerned. I think he's had a superb season.
Yeah, underrated. And I'll tell you an underrated player, but from a top team who I think is really missed at the moment. I think Nathan Ake. When I watch Nathan Ake play, he's the one for me that's always solid. You know what you're going to get from him. He's solid. He's good in the tackle. He's good in the air. Positionally, he's good. He's strong. Never gets talked about, though. Never, ever gets talked about. Is it just me, or is Stel's like making a myriad of noises of crisps and drawers and paper? And it's just, I'm like, it's like,
yeah, you know, I forgot where I was for a second there.
You know, on the radio where they go, guess this noise for £5,000. I'm like, what is that? I
was opening up a letter. Sorry.
There have been some good players put up on the chat in the last 30 seconds. I mean, some really good ones.
Yeah, but by the way, when we talk about clubs missing players, at the moment, Bournemouth centre-half pairing, one is 21, one is 19, and they are flying. So, those two, Joachim Anderson is a name that's being thrown around. Jacob Murphy, a name that's being thrown around. Norgard, I like Norgard. I think he's a good player.
Yeah.
And Damsgaard. I thought Damsgaard the other day against us was superb. I thought, what a delivery that man's got. And I thought he was excellent, dropping deep, getting the ball, starting their count. I thought he was very good. But let's move on to the next question. Phil Coys has said, "Evening, Savva Stel. I hear where our fans breaking points for Ange, but where's Spurs fans making point for Ange? Oh, making point for Ange. At what point do Spurs U-turn on this manager in a positive way?" So basically, I think the question here is, what does Ange have to do for us to stop saying yeah, don't rate him and we'll back him.
Yeah, for me, it's simple. Win a trophy. I've said on other shows, if Ange wins a trophy, I'll give him another year. I know Savva disagrees. That's fine. This is why we're different people. We have different views and opinions. But for me, if Ange wins a trophy this year, regardless of what trophy he wins, I will give him another season. Because if he wins the Carabao Cup, he would have done it beating United, City, and Liverpool in the process. And either Newcastle or Arsenal in the final. I can't take that away from him. I can't. If he wins the FA Cup, I'll give him another year because that'll be the first time in over 30 years any manager's won the FA Cup. And if he wins the Europa Cup, I'll give him another season because we haven't won a European trophy in over 40 years. So, look, if he wins a trophy, credit to him, 100%. And I'll get off his back. And for a whole year, I'll say he gets grace from me. I gave him grace last year on the basis that he lost Kane with no replacement. And I said, right, you're going to get grace from me, from Stelios, for 1 year. So if he wins a trophy this year, he'll get grace. But if he doesn't, I want him gone, man. I want him gone if he doesn't, because what a disgrace of a season this is. But he's got to win a trophy for me to do the positive U-turn to answer Phil's question.
For me, it's about two things. Firstly, the system. It's all about matches for me. The system he plays, he's got to start playing sensibly and maturely and like a proper manager. It's not an under-11 league that we're in. This is the Premier League we're playing in. And I don't think he gives the Premier League the respect it deserves. I think if he starts behaving like a proper manager and starts looking at his players, he doesn't have a pecking order regardless of form, and his in-match management changes so that he behaves like other managers, and you change. You know, games are fluid. Matches are changing. Momentum changes games. You know, injuries change games, and he just carries on playing in the same way regardless. You know, if you 4-2 up against United, just as an example in the League Cup, bang, just carries on 4-3, and everybody's like looking at the watches. And this has got to stop. This has got to stop. He's got to start behaving like a proper grown-up manager. And for me, if he does that, and if there is a project where you build a team over 2 or 3 years in order to challenge, then that's fair enough.
Yeah, I listen. I kind of lean more to Lubo's point. For me, it's not imperative that he wins a trophy this season. I said that at the beginning of the season. I don't expect to win a trophy. I don't expect it. Do I want it? Yes. Do I expect it? No. But Lubo, I think you're absolutely right. For me, I want to see the basics. And this is where Stel and I are slightly different. And as he said, it's absolutely fine. For me, him winning this League Cup will show brilliant. He's had a good cup run. That doesn't change for me his overall management with BAU. And the BAU in terms of business as usual is in the league. You know, every season you can't say, oh, we'll finish bottom half as long as we win a League Cup. At some point, I've got to see that this man can manage weekend to weekend properly. I've got to see that he can manage the squad properly. I've got to see that when he gets injuries, that he doesn't hide behind that and that he actually adapts and molds to that. Other clubs have injuries. They get on with it. This manager doesn't. So for me, my turning point will be when I see months of form. Not, oh, we beat Brentford and then we beat Man U in the league. Oh, my God, we've won 2 Savas in the mud. I want to see months of form. I want to see the last 14 games of this season in the Premier League. Don't lose 5 or 6 of them. Don't. Lose 1 or 2. Get 7 or 8 wins. Get 3 or 4 draws, 1 or 2 defeats. Cool. Then we're going, okay, cool. But for me, what we keep doing as a fan base is, Stel, me and you talked about this at the beginning of the show. Before the show started. It was last year we heard, he's got injuries. Let's see what he does when he gets his players back. Then when he got his players back, it was, give him till the end of the season. Then when we were crap at the end of the season, it was, no, don't worry. Give him the first 10, 15 games of the Premier League this season. Then that was shit and the worst start for 20 seasons. And it was, well, wait and see what he does if he wins a League Cup. So what if we go out tomorrow? What metric are we judging him by? Because if he doesn't win anything this year and we do finish bottom half, surely every Spurs fan will have to agree that after 2 years of the manager being here, whatever word you want to call it, gents, project, process, plan, this, that, the other, after 2 years of being here, if it's no trophies and bottom half of the table, it's not working. It's not working after 2 years. So for me, he's got to start showing me that he can go into next season. Where is he? Okay, get him. Sorry. Okay, cool. Sorry, the dog's come back from the vets today, feeling a bit worse for wear and a bit sorry for himself. So he doesn't want to be around anyone at the moment. So for me, winning the cup, I would agree with Stel on that. Winning the cup for me, papers over cracks. Ten Hag won trophies at Man United. It didn't save him this season. It did not save him. So for me, it can't be. You know what our fans will do, guys? We'll win a League Cup. Next year, he could lose 8 of his first 10 games and they'll go, but he's got credit in the bank. He won the cup. Nah. That's making it sound like we're Wigan. Yeah, or Palace. We're not. So for me, the last thing I'll say, sorry, guys, I know I've waffled on a bit there. Should he make the final tomorrow night? And I will say he should be the manager to take us to that final. Right? I will say that. Now, that doesn't mean if I woke up next week and saw him sacked, I'd complain. But he should be the manager. I can't be a hypocrite. I hated it when it was done to Jose. Right? So if he gets there tomorrow, let him get to the final. But that, for me, this one cup run doesn't take over for me how bad a manager I think he is. Otherwise, who was the Wigan manager? Anyone know who the Wigan manager was that won?
Martinez.
How long was he at Wigan? Right. Wigan got rid of him at some point, right? Anyway,
they got relegated. He won the cup and they got relegated, didn't they?
That's right. If they got relegated 3 days later at Arsenal, didn't they? After Wigan beat City. If we get through tomorrow, I know it's a massive if, fingers crossed, let's hope God's looking down on us, then the second leg of the Europa League will be Thursday the 13th and the Carabao Cup final will be Sunday the 16th. So that would be a massive, massive 3 days in the club, in the season. Enormous 3 days. So,
but as is the next 4 days after today,
absolutely.
The next 4 days are massive because we're either going to be, hey, this is a good cup season, or as I said in my video earlier, Lubo, right? If we lost both, I'm not saying we will, but if we lose both, now we're just a shit team in 14th who are clinging on to the Europa League. That's what we are if we lose these 2 games. So I think we've got to win one of them.
I think the other question is, who would you replace him with?
Anyone.
Because you saw after Conte, we got 10 points from 9 games.
I want Iriola. I've said it. I want Iriola. I've said it many times. I think he plays a 4-3-3, which is what we play. So our players are used to it. But he can also play a 4-2-3-1, which is a bit more pragmatic, not so exposed. He doesn't play with inverted fullbacks. He plays with proper wing backs, and he got the best out of Solanke that any manager did. And guess who's at Spurs? Solanke. And on top of that, what he's doing at Bournemouth with that squad is sensational, man. He's literally...
And those injuries.
Yeah, but with the injuries as well. So, I look, for me, and what I like about him is he's young, which means he's not stuck in a certain way. Yeah. He's dynamic. He can still evolve. And let's be honest, he's maturing into his career now. He's got a really good record in Spain at much lower level clubs. He took, I think, Real Vallecano, to their second ever final, or another Spanish club to their second ever semi-final. So he performed bits at those clubs. And what he's doing at Bournemouth, this is probably Bournemouth's best ever Premier League season you've ever seen. So he punches above his weight. He just reminds me of Pochettino. He's round about the same age that Poch was when we took him from Southampton. I think he suits us. I think he works well for Spurs. I'd have him in a heartbeat. Honestly, everything about him, I'd have at Spurs.
If Ange went next week, who would you bring in? And that's you think you could get him? You think he'd leave Bournemouth this side of the end of the season? Yes,
because again, we've talked about this loads, Ian. It's the food chain. It is the food chain. Managers and players will look at the food chain. Bournemouth are above us for the first time. If I'm not wrong, somebody might tell me I'm wrong. This is the first time Bournemouth are ever going to finish above us in a Premier League season. Somebody let me know. I might be wrong, but I've got a feeling this is going to be the first time. And I don't think Iriola and his agent will be naive enough to think that them finishing above us once makes Bournemouth a more exciting prospect moving forward. He would have more money at Tottenham. He would have the best facilities in the world at Tottenham, and it will put his name on. It will, as much as we're not Arsenal, Liverpool, City. No. It will put his name on the map more than it will at Bournemouth. Unfortunately, that's the food chain.
My concern is that after Conte left, without a credible replacement, we had Stellini, then Mason. We got 11 points out of 30, and we dropped from 8th to 4th. Sorry, 4th to 8th, should I say? 8th from 4th. And that's, if they got rid of him without anybody to come in, there might be a problem. You might get the same thing.
In what way? I mean, how far can we actually drop?
I don't know.
By the way, Mason's. But again, I'm not advocating Ryan Mason. But when you look at when Ryan Mason has actually come in and taken over Spurs, everyone's talking as though he's lost every game he's played.
No,
that's not true. He's actually got a good record. Not brilliant, but he's got a good enough record.
I think the first time he won, when Jose went, he won 4 out of 6, apart from the League Cup final. Right. And the second
you wouldn't
time,
expect him to win, right? You wouldn't expect Ryan Mason in his first managerial job to outwit Pep Guardiola, would you? You wouldn't expect it.
No, and I think he left Bale on the subs bench, didn't he? I think in that final, if my memory serves me correctly, which was ridiculous.
I can't remember, but for me, I've said this all along. I hear all the time when I'm watching other shows. I don't watch that many, but I see people going, "Oh, who would come?" Managers are the same as players. Managers will come if it goes up the food chain, and we are up that food chain. Forget that we're having a bad year this year. We are up that food chain for them. And Stel, I'll ask this question. If Tottenham turn around right now to Bournemouth, right, to Iriola's agent, you think they said, "Look, we want you," right? And again, everyone in the chat is hypothetical, right? Say, "Look, we're exploring options. We don't think Ange's going to be with us long. Are you interested?" Right? The number of outcomes. 1 is absolutely not. 2, yeah, I could be persuaded now. 3, I'll come, but it will be at the end of the season, right? Now, if I know Iriola's coming at the end of the season, I'll take Mason all day long for the last 14 games in Europe. I would. I genuinely would. I don't think he does a worse job than Ange. I don't.
I think we're at a point. I think we're at a point now where to bring in a new manager, we've gone past that point because the transfer window's over. There's only February, March, April, May. There's 4 months left of the season.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it'll be very, very difficult to bring in any manager now. And I think any manager will say, "Look, I'll come at the end of the season. I want to start fresh. I don't want to take over a mess. I don't want to let me come in fresh." Well, maybe some managers might say, "Actually, let me come in now to assess the team." But as long as you know, I'm not coming to fix it. I'm just coming to assess. I only want to see what they've got. I'm not here to fix nothing.
Amorim, Potter, assessing.
Amorim, Potter. Okay. Personally, okay. Let's say they are. Okay, let's go with that. So on that basis, they might come. I think now at this stage with 4 months left, I think most managers would probably say, "I'll come at the end of the season. I want to start and I'll watch some games. I'll make my assessment watching rather than managing, and then I'll give you a bit of a brief on what I think." So from now till the end of the season, the only option really is either Ryan Mason or what I've said before, bring in an interim. You bring in, it doesn't have to be Harry Redknapp, right? I'm just using that as an example in case people say, "He's 100 years old. You can't say that." No, I'm giving you an example. Bring in an interim. It could be Tim Sherwood. It could whoever. I don't care. I actually don't care anymore. Bring in someone who just has some managerial experience. Let them just run the show to the end of the season and see it out. That's the only other option. But if that's all too expensive, then yeah, you give it to Ryan Mason. Do I want Ryan Mason? No. But if that's all we're left with, then so be it. It is what it is.
Can I just say, like, when we say Mason not doing worse than Ange based on what? Again, I thought I made this pretty clear at the start of this conversation. If you actually look at Mason's results when he's been temporary manager, as standalone results, they're not bad. He's got like an over 50% win rate. If you look at Ange Postecoglou, his win rates are disgusting. So based off that, Phil.
Can I say, people in the chat, Alexander LGY, you do this all the time. You zone in on one metric and you make that metric your holy grail of an argument. Okay? Yeah, right. This is
yeah.
He always does this.
Always.
I know he does. It's poor analysis, right? Amrim's doing much worse point wise. Who cares, right? When Man United took over, when Amrim took over at Man United, were Man United below or above Tottenham? Below. Now they're above. When Amrim took over Man United, were Man United crashing out of Europe, or were they going to finish in the top 8? They were crashing out and they were below Spurs. Right. Guess what? Right. They finished above Spurs in the European, and they've qualified through automatic qualification. So not only did he catch Spurs in the league and go past us, he did the same in Europa. You've got to look at everything before we make an assessment on what we think. So to simply just say points-wise, no, contextualize it, man. Analyze it properly. Amorim has walked into a shit show of a club in a far greater mess than Spurs. They're an absolute joke, Man United. And he's got them above Spurs in the league, and he's got them above Spurs in the Europa. Will Man United regress? No, I think they'll improve eventually as the season goes on. So, look, do I think he could be doing better? Maybe, yeah, he could. But he's been there 3 months. Ange's been here freaking over a year and a half.
But still, this is the problem with fans. They talk about right nowism. Look, the Man United owners won't be stupid enough to think that if they bring Amorim in, it means that this season all their fortunes suddenly change, right? But Amorim, right now, I saw him talking the other day, right? Amorim acknowledged he has a big job, but Amorim also said he knew when he came in that there wasn't going to be major surgery done in January. He knew that he needed the rest of this season to look at his players, see who can play his philosophy, see who can't. In the summer will be when Man United are judged what they do. But our fans go, oh, well, look, so-and-so's joined there. What changed around? We're past the point now of a manager comes in and gets us European football via the league. We've missed that. Still. Unless we win 11 or 12 of our last, at least 10, 11, 12 of our last 14 games, we're not going to get Europe via the league. So we missed that. We've missed that opportunity. But like you said, for me, if a manager did come in now, they might want to turn around and say, you know what? I'll have a look at the players for the rest of this season. I'll have a look at them. Let's be fair. If you were coming in taking over Spurs right now in the league still, it's win-win. You're not going down. You're simply not going down. There's too many bad teams. And you can't qualify for Europe. It's win-win. So, look, for me, I just,
I agree, Savva. I agree. I just don't understand how people can talk about Amorim after 3 months, 4 months in a job, and yet Ange, after
20 or whatever it is,
20 months, we want to make comparisons, or we want to. But look at him. No. Any comparison, there should be at least some balance. So if you're going to compare Ange, compare him with a manager that's been in charge for 20 months as well. Who's been in charge for 20 months? I don't know. Or if you're going to compare,
Iriola's been in charge for as long as Ange has.
Right. So when you make a comparison of these two, who's spent more money? Spurs. Who's had more backing? Spurs. Who's been given grace of complete disastrous results more than any other manager? Ange. So everything's got in favour of Ange. The funding, the backing, sticking by him regardless of injuries, results. Iriola hasn't had that backing. He hasn't got the wage bill of Spurs. He hasn't had that kind of support. Yet he's outperforming us, right? And then what they do is they then throw in these little caveats. Yeah, but we got Europe. We're in more competitions. But we knew that before the season started. We knew that before the transfer window. And at the end of the transfer window, Ange said, I'm happy with my squad. I'm happy with these signings. Right. Well, then you're happy with the squad that you're about to take into 4 competitions. You know, all these fans that said, we're going to get top 3, we're going to get 4th. Yeah. You know, wow, look at these generational kids. And, look at the players Spurs are signing, thumbnail, YouTube. They knew we had 4 competitions this season. Right? They all knew it. So assess it now. We can't just suddenly do, oh, yeah, but points-wise, this manager's doing worse than this guy and Iriola's only in 1 competition. But we knew all of that before the season started. Now we want to use it as all the excuses to say, yeah, but you can't look at Iriola because he's only in 1 competition. You can't look at Amorim because he's making a bigger mess than Ange. It's like Ange is like this. It's almost like he's Jesus, man. Don't say anything. Don't you dare say anything about Jesus.
It's madness.
It's crazy. It's insane, Savva. It does my head in. It does my mind in.
I'll just say that Ange has got 93 points from his 62 league games since he started, with a 45% win rate.
Yeah.
Iriola has 88 points with 24 wins, 16 draws though, and 22 defeats, whereas Ange's 28, 9, 25, and his win rate is just over 41%. But you would expect Ange, with the money that he's spent, to be more than 5 points better off than Iriola over the last year and well.
But I'm not even looking at the points, though, Ian. But I wouldn't even look at the points, because that would be suggesting that the 2 clubs are on the same stature when the managers took over.
But that's where we are. That's where we are.
But that's not where we were when he took over. This is the thing. You've got to remember, Iriola took over one of the favourites to be relegated, Bournemouth, at the beginning of the season. And Iriola, what he's done there has been magnificent. Ange didn't take over a team in any danger of relegation. Ange took over a team where most people said we should be getting top 4. That's what most people said, right? Context is really, really important. When you can't judge Iriola's win rate over that time against Ange's. Ange's the manager of Tottenham Hotspur. Iriola's losing his best players all the time. Hardly any money or budget as a football club. Their stadium holds about, 16,000 people, right?
11.
The job Iriola has done compared to what Ange has done is magnificent, right? He's got 10 injuries right now, and people go, but they're only playing once a week. Like Stel said, Spurs would have planned for playing in 4 competitions. Bournemouth would have planned for playing just the league, right? Bournemouth. I saw someone ridiculous the other day, whoever said, yeah, but the players we've got missing are more important to us than they've got missing. Based on what? How arrogant is that? How arrogant is that we turn around and go, yeah, but Bournemouth's players that are missing don't matter? What? Why? Bournemouth, for this last 11, 12 games, have had to play a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old at centre-half, whilst beating Newcastle, whilst battering Forest, whilst I think they've lost 1 in 13 games. They've lost 1 in 13, and people are going, yeah, but it's mental.
Savva, let me ask you and Ian a question.
No, Phil, just quickly, I'm getting pissed off with this. You're not listening to what I said. You know, when I say, Stel, 2 of these, they finished 12th in the end. But when he took over from O'Neill, they were an utter shit show.
They finished 15th, by the way, with 39 points. They lost 21 games in the last season.
They finished 12th last season. They were supposed to get relegated. So they've done all right.
Yeah.
I mean, last season, they were one of the favourites to go down, and he finished 12th. This season, they've kicked on again. But we can't praise him, but we're not allowed to critique Ange. This is what I mean. It's turning into a cult. It's turning into a cult.
It is a cult. It is a cult. The fact we are comparing Spurs to Bournemouth should be alarm bells for any Spurs fan. The fact we are comparing one of the biggest clubs in England to Bournemouth should have you all concerned. This is insane. And here's a question, right? Maybe the penny will drop for some people. When you look at that performance, yeah, I know. Buddy. Hope, I'll just hope. Across my fingers. That performance against Brentford, the 2-0 win on Sunday. Deep, compact, wing back stayed as right and left back, not wing backs. No bombing forward, no inverting, and we got a win. If we had set up like that a few more times this season, i.e., Goodison away, right? Yeah, Goodison away. Do you think just maybe we might have got a few more wins in the bag, and instead of being 14th, we might be 8th or 9th? If we'd set up like that a little bit more. What do you reckon?
Newcastle away.
Right, just a few more times, okay? And that's the point. That is on your manager. That is on Ange. Regardless of the players he's got, can you set them up in a way, even if it's shit to watch, ugly as hell, just to get a win because we need some wins? And the answer is yes, a manager can do that. He chose to put us on the halfway line and Dragusin got rinsed one-on-one at Goodison Park. He chose for the fullbacks to bomb up and then we get attacked down the flanks and there's no one there to protect us against Leicester City. He chose to do that. And we're getting picked off by everyone and their dog and cat. And then we say, oh, yeah, injuries. No, look at your manager. Look how Areola sets up. Look how they play. It's not the same. So for me, if Ange had set up the way he did against Brentford a few more times this season, do I think Spurs would be top 4? No, because injuries are a problem. Do I think they would be in the top 8? Yeah, I do. I do think we'd be in the top 8. I really do with this squad. But this is a conversation that we can't have because it means that you've got to actually blame the manager. And you can't do that because you're part of this fucking cult. Yeah. Anyway, I ran over.
No. Listen,
Sit on the fence still.
I think it's interesting. I'll tell you how you know it's a cult. Because look, we say things like this. How many games this season have we lost when we played well and deserved to get something out of the game? We lost.
Yeah. I think, Phil,
hang on. Sorry. The reason I bring it up is I want to say something about it, right? Sorry. For me,
makes no sense.
This is not how football is judged. Football isn't judged on, you don't get to the end of the season and go, we got relegated. But I'll tell you what, how many games do you think we played? That's not how it's judged. If we played well and deserved to get something out of the game, we would have got something out of the game. You get something out of the game, yeah, by winning, right? By drawing. How many of these games where he needed to tweak, did he tweak? Right? This is absolute madness. We have got to this stage. We have got to this stage, gentlemen, where when Spurs lose, we are now on copium. It's not we lost. It's but we should have won, but we didn't. Yeah, but we should have. We didn't win the game. Like it's
Savva, let me say this to you, Phil. Let me say this to you, right? Just to show how silly you are with that comment, right? And it's silliness, okay? If we get to the cup final against Arsenal, right? Spurs-Arsenal cup final. Tell me what you'd rather have if these are the two options. Arsenal score in the first 10 minutes, corner, set piece, Gabriel 1-0, and then for the next 80 minutes, Spurs push them back, pin them in, shots, creation, goalkeeper saves, crossbar, post. And at the end of the game, Spurs have 75% possession, 30 shots, 20 on target, 6 big chances created, 0 goals. And Arsenal have got 25% possession, 2 shots all game, 1 on target, 0 big chances created, 1 goal. Arsenal win the cup. Are you going to sit here and say to me that, but look how many games we could have won, look, we could have deserved it because we played well? Or are you going to want to be that Arsenal team with those shitty stats who are lifting that cup? Any Spurs fan will bite your hand off for that trophy win having not deserved it. And that's how you got to think with football. Do we want that every single week, every single game? No, we don't, because do you know what? it will bore people to death. Right? It will bore people to death. But every once in a while, man, you've got to do it. That's the point I'm making. And Ange could have done that. Yeah, Ian, go for it, bro.
I think, Phil, just two things to say on that. Firstly, just to double up on what Stel just said, we had 63% possession, I think, in Madrid. We had more shots on goal than Liverpool, and we lost the game. In terms of let me just address what you just said. First 4 games of this season, I would agree with you. I think we were far better against Leicester than they were, but not being sharp in front of goal cost us 2 points there. We were far better than Newcastle. I think we had 20 shots up at St James's Park. We ended up losing 2-1. And I thought against Arsenal, who turned up, had a great game plan, which came off, nick a goal from a set piece and defend. I think that goal should have been disallowed because Romero got fouled by Gabriel. But so hang on. So I came away from those 4 games thinking, do you know what? We should have beaten Leicester, should have beaten Newcastle, should have got a draw against Arsenal. But after we beat Brentford and United, after then, we lost to Brighton, we lost to Palace, we lost to Ipswich. We weren't dominating possession and missing chances. We were just poor. And for me, the quality of the performances after United, after the end of September, I thought up to then, we played okay for the first 6 games. After that, we dropped off dramatically. Brighton, Palace, Ipswich were all games. You know, Fulham we should have lost. You know, Forest. We had 70% possession, couldn't break through, didn't have any. There was no creativity. Maddison had the ball against Forest. Nobody made runs for him. Generally, the whole thing has been poor. And I've not even brought up the fact that we're so wide open at the back, and that gives teams the chance to win. You've got to play winning football. This whole thing, I remember Angie's interview after we beat United 4-3, and the Sky producer, the interviewer, was basically saying, you know, it was like schmoozing Ange, and Ange was saying it's entertaining, it's great, I'd rather win 4-3 than 1-0. You know, all the Spurs fans will come away from here and they've had a great time. But that's great for the odd game. But it's about winning football. It's not about entertaining football. It's about when you're on the up in a game, when you're dominating a game, you've got to put those chances away. We don't do that, and because of that, we're wide open at the back, and we lose lots of games. We've won 8 and lost 13 this season. You know, this is the worst league season for 21 years.
But Ian, can't we say again? I want to flip your argument about Newcastle and Leicester at the beginning of the season. I thought first half we dominated Leicester possession-wise, but we didn't really. Again, there were, like, we could say there were 20 shots on goal, but I don't really remember their goalkeeper having anything to do. There were a couple of headers straight at him, and then in the second half, when they come out, it took their manager 45 minutes of the opening day of the season to work out how to get in behind Spurs. Right? Leicester came out, had a really good 15, 20-minute spell where they looked like they were going to score every time they went forward. So this whole, we should have battered Leicester. Does anyone remember the Leicester keeper doing anything in that game? Right?
Hang on a sec. But if our strikers miss chances, it doesn't mean that the keeper's had a blinder. It means that our guys have missed. We should have been 4-0 up.
No. But again,
we killed them first half. We should have been 4 up.
Okay, but I'm asking you a question. Does anyone remember their goalkeeper doing anything in that first half? Like, when you're saying we killed them, we had loads of the ball. We dominated the hell out of the game, but I don't remember their goalkeeper having, it wasn't like their goalkeeper was tipping them over the bar and around the post. No. Right? So my point is, football isn't 45 minutes, right? And in that first half, we dominated possession-wise. Nothing really clear-cut. Leicester City came out, got their goal. Jamie Vardy then missed a sitter, right? Fatawu then tore Udogie a new one time after time after time. Second half, we were poor. Now, if you go to the Newcastle game, and we'll use your rhetoric against you here, right? You say, oh, but we could have killed them off and blah, blah, blah. Again, I remember a couple of things their goalkeeper had to do, but we were wide open at the back. Football isn't just about dominating.
No, absolutely. No. What I'm saying is that the performance. I've been up there, Sav. The last 2 seasons before this year, I've seen a 6-1 and a 4-0.
Sure.
And we have been absolutely roasted.
Sure.
And that didn't happen. We were much better. I stayed up with friends in Newcastle. We walked back from the grounds, and all of them said, we got away with that today. You should have won. They all said that because they felt we were much the better team. They had 3 chances and took 2 of them.
Yeah, but
that's
Ian, but when we're saying they had 3 chances at 2 of them, were Tottenham wide open at the back against Newcastle?
For those goals, yes.
Right. So why are we saying we deserve to come away with a win? If defending, I feel like our fan base has really forgotten the 2 parts of football. We just go, oh, look what we did going forward. You have to defend as well. Newcastle's game plan, you could call it, worked a charm. Anything we threw at them, they dealt with, right? And then the first time they split our defense, goal, right? Now, our fans seem to think it's purely possession, but you look against Arsenal, again, loads of the football. I don't remember David Raya doing anything. Again, we keep saying we battered teams.
That should have been 0-0 because their goal should have been chalked off.
Their goal shouldn't have been chalked off. Their goal was absolutely fine. You
can't push a centre half. Sorry, mate. You cannot. If that was outside the penalty area, that would have been given as a foul.
But Ian, how many fouls every game you could say if that was outside the penalty area, it would have been given? That's the nature of football. But again, all of these games, one thing they have in common is we're constantly trying to tell everyone how well we played. And I'm constantly looking at the mistakes in our team going, that's not a team playing well. We're confusing dominating the football to playing well. Leicester City in that second half, for me, deserved a draw. Leicester City in that second half worked out how to open us up, right? Newcastle worked out how to open us up, right? Brentford the other day, no one's going to sit there and go, did Brentford deserve to beat us on Sunday?
No, I don't think they did.
Right, okay, but again, do you see how your view is biased? Brentford dominated us. Brentford had how many chances, how many crosses, how much of the ball, and yet we don't think they deserve to win it, but you think when Spurs lose, Spurs deserve to win it. So why didn't Brentford deserve to win on Sunday?
No, what I'm saying, Sav, is that it's all about goals. All the XGs and possession and all of that means diddly squat. It's only about putting the ball in the back of the net. Where I thought we were playing better in terms of what I was saying to Phil was that the performances were better. At the end of the day, you've got to stick the ball in the back of the net.
Going forward, they were better, Ian. But again, at the back, we were a complete shambles.
Right. But in terms of, we went up to Newcastle. The last 2 years, they have absolutely roasted us. They've penned us back. As soon as we've been on the ball, they've closed us down. We've hardly created anything. And in terms of seeing Spurs aesthetically, it was much better. The result was still the same. And
I don't know what I feel like we're arguing.
Odebear's got to take his chance. So Odebear's got to take his chance, Mr. Sitter. Porro's shot hit the bar. These are all situations that can change games.
So why doesn't that apply? Why doesn't that apply to Brentford on Sunday?
Well, it could have done because the guy sort of hit the bar from about 4 yards, didn't he? So I suppose as far as that's concerned, then yes. It's
not just that. The thing is, I'm trying to use your logic, but when your logic apparently when it applies to Spurs winning a game doesn't mean anything. But when it comes to Spurs,
What I was saying to Phil was that he's wrong. The only time that I could have any sympathy with him, as far as what he said, was the first 4 games of the season, where our performances deserve better. For me, they deserve better.
I thought we were shit.
I didn't.
Okay, so was the defence good in those 4 games?
Was the defence good in the?
Were we wide open? Did we concede stupid goals?
Well, we let in 1 to Leicester, we let in 2 to Newcastle, and 1 to Arsenal. We let in 4 goals in 4 games, and that's enough. If you're not putting the ball in the back of the nets, then unfortunately, you're not gonna. Leicester should have been out of sight. Solanke hit the keeper 3 times, had 3 shots.
Yeah, but they weren't good chances. but they weren't good chances. This is my point. If you actually go
one
back,
one of them was a good header straight at the keeper.
Sure, one. But this is my point.
I can't remember too much. All I remember was we played some really good football.
Sure.
And all we had to show was Porro. Was it Porro's header?
So Ian, if we're going to go by your metric, Man City should be top of the league right now. They play some lovely football every game. It doesn't mean anything. Our fans, this is what we're doing. It's copium. We've now got to the stage where, because we lose a lot of games, the copium is, but we deserve to win. No, we didn't. You don't deserve to win when your manager has your defence that wide open. Those 2 goals we conceded at Newcastle, right? Alone, we should have lost that game. We didn't deserve anything at Newcastle because of the way we defended in that game, right? You could say we had chance after chance. How many of them were good chances? Like, how many of them were actually good chances? I feel like... I
can't remember every minute, so I remember watching that recently because I'm miles behind on watching football. And I remember watching that, just to think back, were my pals right in what they said, the Newcastle fans, that they got away with one, they were poor, and we should have won? And I watched it back. I just watched the highlights, and we didn't have that many gilt-edged chances where you look at it and Werner's had 5 one-on-ones. There was nothing like that. But Odegaard missed a header from a yard, or it might be a foot. Yep. There were a few. There were 3 or 4 very good chances. There was the ball across the box that Johnson put. There was a brilliant ball. Sonny stopped. For some reason, Sonny didn't make this run, and that's there were so many. But this is what. There weren't. There weren't so many. If you don't take your chances when you're in the ascendancy,
sure,
you leave yourself wide open to lose a game.
Sure. By the way, I've blocked eye skills for anyone. Sure, Ian. But the thing is, there weren't so many. There weren't so many. This is the problem. If you defend poorly, right? The thing that frustrates me is you talk the way most of our fans talk, that it's only about attack. If we deserved to win that game, we would have been tight at the back, right? We deserved to lose that game because we were set up terribly defensively, like we always are. We were set up terribly defensively, right? Newcastle, the 2 goals they scored, right? They knew what they were doing. They knew they'd take us to the cleaners on that. You and other fans, for me, talk like we are a newly promoted football club. That we're like, but we played well. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we've played well. It doesn't matter.
I was answering Phil's question, or Phil's statement.
I know, but I just don't get it. Like, I'm watching these games, like, again, that Leicester first game of the season, and we are going to end in a minute, by the way, guys and girls. I'm doing a watch along on Big Up at 7:45. I'm watching that game at Leicester in the first half going, we completely dominated, but I don't remember their keeper doing anything. Now, one of them was a gilt-edged chance that Solanke should have taken. The rest were kind of flicks at the goal, and football fans now get so worked up by that, going, we had 20 shots. How many of them were actual shots? Now, let me give you one example. Stel, you'll remember this. You'll remember this, Ian. Remember a couple of years ago, I'm going back a while, actually, where Newcastle came to Spurs and beat us 1-0, right? And do you remember Tim Krul, right?
Cool.
Do you remember?
That was about 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah. And you remember Krul?
He made 15 saves.
Right. Okay. Now, that is peppering the goal. That for me is shit. How did we not win that game? Chance after chance. Not because Odegaard missed a header and a couple of balls came across the face of the goal. Football fans are confusing now, having a lot of the football with deserving to win games of football. If it was about possession, Man City would win everything every season, right? But they don't win the Champions League every year. The teams that knock them out of the Champions League have less possession than them. When Real Madrid knocked City out of the Champions League, how many chances do Man City have? Sure. Real Madrid sit in, soak it up, sucker punch. That's a good tactic.
I'm looking at the match stats for Leicester. We had 70.5% possession.
Right.
We had 15 shots to their 7.
Sure.
7 on target to their 3.
Sure.
62 touches inside their box compared to 11.
What did their keeper do?
Their keeper made 5 saves against Vicario's 2.
Sure. Now, if you now go and look at how many of those, this is the problem. When we look at keepers' saves,
13 corners to their 2, Sav. So it shows a general domination of possession-wise.
Sure.
And everything except scoring, which is the most important thing, across the 90 minutes.
Who had the most gilt-edged chance in the second half to win the game? Was it Tottenham or Leicester? It was Leicester. So Leicester could turn around and go, we should have won it. This is the problem. You've gone with, you would expect Spurs, on Stel, you would expect Spurs against Leicester to have more possession, more shots, more corners. But if their keeper's doing sod all, what does it mean? If their keeper should be man of the match.
I expect Spurs to beat Leicester.
Great.
Yeah, so do I.
There shouldn't be excuses. There's no excuses for me. I don't buy into all this. Like, look, we're 14th in the Premier League table.
Newcastle. Do you want the stats for Newcastle?
No, I don't. I watched the game. I watched the game, Ian. This is the thing. You're going so far on stats that you're not taking into account. Newcastle did the same thing to Spurs in the second half at White Hart Lane. They sat in, and still, we watched this game, right? Do you remember after the Newcastle game, people going, we deserved that in the second half? I don't remember in the second half their keeper doing anything again. What people are confusing is Newcastle went into the lead, right? Newcastle went into the lead against Tottenham Hotspur. Second half came out and said,
"Hey, which games are you talking about?"
The one they won, the one they just won at White Hart Lane.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They dominated the first half, Newcastle, and the difference between Newcastle got their goals. Second half went, you know what? Go on, then come at us. And our fans, I remember after the game, Ian, you're going, we played really well. Second half, we should have won. Why? Their keeper did fuck all in the second half of the game. What they're doing is going, we're confusing again teams that allow us to have a lot of the football versus did we deserve to win a game?
No. What I said was after Liverpool, Wolves, Forest, I thought they battled well. What I said was what pleased me about the Newcastle game. They never gave up. They kept going. They battled well. You know, they were a lot worse in the other games. I mean, Liverpool was a complete shit show. Wolves, we could have quite easily lost, and Forest we did lose. Even though we had 70%, we never looked like scoring.
So what are we learning about possession? We are going to end in 1 minute. What are we learning about possession, Ian?
Well, the only thing that counts, unfortunately, with Spurs at the moment, we're great against teams that don't play a low block. As soon as teams play a low block and sit back and leave us with all the ball, we can't find a way to get through, and that's why we need players that are going to run and take on players. And if you've got that, you can't just keep passing sideways. You've got 10 players in front of you, and all we seem to do is pass sideways, backwards, forwards.
So you're negating your point.
Bring it back, sling it to the left, and that's been our problem.
Your point. You're negating your whole argument.
No. I'm talking about encouragement on performance, because having been to Newcastle and got absolutely slaughtered twice, I didn't think they deserved that. I thought in terms of being equal, in terms of matching Newcastle, result was still the same, so it doesn't make any difference. And it is about results. But if you can take a positive from something, it was that we played better, and if we'd have taken our chances and converted and maybe had a bit more of a cutting edge with all the possession we had, we'd have won that. And that was my point. And that was my point with Phil, and Phil agreed. If you see his comment, he said that's what I was saying. But since then, Phil, since the end of September, I can't even say that we've been losing well. We've been losing badly. So,
well, look, let's leave it there. Let's leave it there.
As Mourinho famously once said, "You can take the stats home. I'll take the 3 points."
Right.
That's right. No, that's right. It's all about scoring.
As I said, you know, when we're talking about, you know, we need these wingers and the passing sideways. That's why. Do you know what? Somebody showed the other day on Sky Sports. They said, like, it was one of the games Spurs had like 64% possession, and they showed the volume of passes across our two centre halves. And I'm sitting there going, this is what's killing football stats, is our centre halves, Gray to Dragoshin in that particular game, back and forth and back and forth. And we're going, we completed 500 passes. Yeah, because we're going back and forth and back and forth and back. That for me is not dominating. That is not good possession. Guys, going to leave it there. I've put a link in the chat. This link, I'll put it in again here. This link is for 7:45 on Big Up. I'm doing a Newcastle versus Arsenal watch along. We always have a good laugh over there. We don't really talk Spurs. We have a good laugh. There's gifts. You can put gifts in. It's brilliant. Gifts and everything. And we've got the scoreboard built in. Please come over and join that. So there's the link. Please take that down. 7:45. Ian, thank you for coming on. Stel, thank you for coming on. A user, thank you. I said Areola has the cherries from the food chain. Listen, I want this man. He is Poch for me. This is the nearest thing to Poch. I want this man. Big up A user. Reese has said, good evening, lads. Can you rank these departments from best to worst this season? Recruitment, scouting, coaching, medical. Keep up the good work. I'll answer this for all of us. The guys can disagree with me if they want. Shit. I think the whole thing has been an absolute shit show. All of it. Recruitment, scout, all of it. I'm not going to let the others answer, actually. I'm going to dominate on that one. And then A user said Bournemouth has put a lot of clubs to shame. They have indeed, especially with the number of injuries they've got, losing centre forwards and then making their midfielder a makeshift centre forward who goes and scores hat-tricks in games. That's the equivalent of Spurs putting Maddison or Kulu up top and that person scoring a hat-trick. We don't know how to do it. Big up to you. Thank you very much, Stel. Thank you very much, mate. And I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on as always. Good show. And tomorrow night we'll see what's what. We will see what's what.
We will indeed. If we lose, there'll be an excuse, right? If we win, I'm going to sit here and go, oh, fair play. If we lose, there'll be an excuse. Ian, thank you so much. Always love our debates, Ian. Always love them.
Pleasure. By the way, which of you guys is doing an after-match show tomorrow night?
That's I do the match. He does the aftermatch. So
yeah,
I'll finish
I've got half 10. Unless it goes to extra time and penalties, then it'll be 11 o'clock. Or maybe even later. God knows.
Yeah.
I'll
guys,
send the link.
Girls, take care. Much love. As always, Ange out, Levy out, Enoch out, Lubo out. But come on, you Spurs.